Hi, welcome to episode 437 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Twitter and Instagram. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where you can find my hand-spun yarns and knitting patterns. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, August 21st, and it is hotter than you know what here. We actually had the distinction, Kansas City had the distinction of being the having the highest heat index in the nation on Saturday. So not something I'm really excited about, but that's what we're dealing with this week. It has been in the triple digits for the last couple days, and we are under a heat advisory warning until later this week. So we are staying indoors. Luckily, we have air conditioning, thank goodness, and we are hoping that it holds out and that we can stay indoors and that everybody else can stay indoors and stay cool. So I hope that you are having a good week so far. It is midday on Monday. I'm coming to you kind of on my lunch break. And I don't have a ton to show you. I had a bit of a knitting accident this week. I actually rubbed a blister on one of my fingers. I don't really know how I did that. And so it made it really uncomfortable to knit for a day or two. And so I just didn't get as much done as I wanted to. I did, in fact, do a little sewing, and I brought some stuff to show you on that. So that's kind of my week in a nutshell. So a few projects that are ongoing, and yeah. So today I am drinking a Himalayan orange tea from Hardy & Sons. I purchased this quite a while ago, but actually didn't even open it until today. So this is actually a couple years old, and I know they say you're not supposed to use tea, that tea loses its taste, and much as spices do, loses its taste over time. But of course I had never opened it, so it hadn't been exposed to the air since it was vacuum sealed. So we'll see how that goes. And to be honest, I can't even remember. I'll have to look it up and see if it's still available. I can't even remember whether this was a green or a black tea or a tisane, a fruit herbal. I think looking at what was in the package, it's definitely a tea, as opposed to just herbal elements, because I saw tea leaves, but I don't know what precisely it is, although my guess is maybe it's a Himalayan black tea and then orange flavoring. It smells delicious, and it will be a good pick-me-up for the rest of the afternoon. I know it's crazy that I'm drinking it hot, but our AC actually is working, so I'm not feeling too uncomfortable, so I'm just going to go with it. Oh yeah, that's nice. It's really mild. It's not as astringent or bitter as black tea can sometimes be, and it just has just a hint of orange at the end. So that's really nice. So let's start with the knits. I have two works in progress, no finishes here this week, but I have two works in progress, both of which you have seen. Well, I guess you haven't seen one of them, but we talked about it. So the first thing that I'm working on is I am working on a sweater for my nephew. The last couple weeks I have been working on the sleeves, and now I'm working on the body. The pattern is called Hearthstone. It is designed by Isolde Teague, and it is a bottom-up pattern where all the fun details are in the raglan. So there are cables on the raglan shaping and around the neck, and so basically the task was to knit the sleeves up to where they join into the yoke, and then knit the body up to where it joins into the yoke. Last week I was set to start the body, and I said I would really love it if I could get it up to where I was supposed to join everything together, and I did not, but I did actually do pretty well. So this is between 8 and 9 inches of the sweater body, and so basically it's just roundy. It's got there is optional shaping if you are knitting this in adult sizes, but because it is a child size and children don't generally have a lot of like hip and waist shaping, I'm just knitting that, and this is particularly for my nephew, so I am just knitting this sort of regularly in the round, and actually this is as far as I got before I ran out of one of my balls of yarn. I am using Malabrigo Rios in the Cereza colorway, which is cherry, so that's a pretty good approximation of it. As you can see, it looks like there actually are some differences in my skeins because it is looking a little stripy, and I am changing colors every round, so I'm glad that I am doing this. And I'm enjoying knitting this, and I have just this much left of the other ball And then I have 2 more skeins that I need to wind so that I can work on it. And like I said, I think when I checked last night, this was close to 9 inches, which means I have a few more before I can sort of join everything up. And then it gets to be the fun part, which is the raglan shaping for the it's the yoke. So first I'll start with very long rows, but they will be decreasing, and I will be doing some of the fun cabling and yoke neck details. So that's kind of the most exciting part of the sweater pattern. The rest is just basically stockinette, except for the ribbing at the bottom. And so I worked on that quite a bit in front of the TV this week, and I'm pleased with where I got to. Hopefully by next week I will have everything joined up and be working on that. I do not think I will finish the sweater this week, but I should be further along and be able to show you some of the cabling, I hope, by the time we get to next week. So that's where I'm at with this. I don't have any modifications other than I'm knitting it on slightly smaller needles than it calls for. I think it calls for a US 6 and a US 4, and I am using a US 5 and a US 3, and that is because my gauge is such that I just almost always drop, and I am getting exact gauge here. So I am knitting the 8 to 10, no, I'm knitting the 6 to 8 size. Miles will be 7 this fall, so that is the size that I chose. Hopefully it will fit him for 2 years, and I'm really, really excited about this. I think this is going to be a really classy little sweater, and while I don't know that that's exactly how Miles wants to be known, as a really classy little dude, I think it's going to be a really nice sweater, and I'm very excited about it. So that is the first thing. The second thing, and I was hoping to have slightly more finished to show you, but again, like I said, I got a blister this week. I don't know if it's all of my projects are worsted and bulky weight, and I think somehow how I'm holding the needles or whatnot, my fingers were rubbing against. I got the blister here on one of my knuckles, and I just don't know exactly what it is. I think I was just holding things slightly differently, and I might need to add a fingering weight project to the mix, because this hasn't happened before, and normally I'm usually knitting a variety of different kinds of projects. This is the first week that I have everything kind of all one weight. Anyway, so the second project that I was working on and kind of had to stop for a bit is I'm working on the purple socks for my Knit the Rainbow rainbow collection of socks. I am donating these to Knit the Rainbow, which is a 501c3 charity, which is organized to support LGBTQIA youth who are facing houselessness. And so, well, I guess maybe, I don't know if it's youth or if it's just, but there is a large proportion of youth that, for instance, when they come out, often finds themselves estranged from their parents or homes, and finds themselves without resources. So Knit the Rainbow takes donations year-round and provides a variety of services, including sort of connecting people with resources, crafting classes, all kinds of things, but they also take donations of knitted goods. And so I decided to do a rainbow of socks, and I have done the other 5 pairs. I had a red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and I am now on purple, and I had hoped to get further along, but I am very close to where I'm going to put in an afterthought heel and then continue on this sock. I'm kind of trying to knit this sock in a size large. I'm using the rye pattern from Tin Can Knits sort of as my gauge of sort of how many rows to knit, or sorry, how many stitches to cast on, and how long to make the foot and those kinds of things. I have been knitting these, but I have not been using the rye pattern in the sense that I have been knitting them toe up. This is because I'm knitting in worsted and DK weight, and I want to maximize my yardage and get the tallest sock I possibly can. So what I've been doing is buying a skein of worsted or DK weight, winding it up, dividing it in half into 2 50-gram balls, and so then I can basically knit until I run out of yarn on this cake, and then I can go on to the other half and do the other one. So I am almost to where I want to be on the foot, to where I want to put in the heel, and then I will just continue to knit. So this is Dream in Color Classy, which is 250 yards to 113, 115, 116 grams, and I think it's 250 yards to 113 grams, but my ball was just a little bit heavy, and it's in the colorway Divine, and it's just a divine purple. I know that the monitor is probably not doing it justice, but it is just absolutely lovely. I think that's a pretty good It's a little blown out there, but it's a pretty good idea. But I don't know if the monitor will make it look violet or indigo. It's definitely violet. So that is what I'm working on. Hopefully I will have at least one finished sock for you next week. I had hoped to have this one finished this week, but didn't quite get there. So those are the two projects that I have on my needles right now. I am waiting to get another sample because that will be sort of the third thing that I cast on. And then I've been working on chickens, of course, as usual. And so that is kind of what's been keeping me busy. However, like I said, I did manage to rub a blister on my finger and it was very uncomfortable to knit. So I decided to tackle a sewing project. So I have only begun sewing recently because I now work for Missouri Star Quilt Company. And so I have been, I don't know, I don't think sewing is ever going to replace knitting as kind of the heart of my hearts, you know, my favorite hobbies or anything, but I am enjoying it. And what I have been trying to do so far, and so far I've been good, knock on wood, is I have been trying not to collect fabric the way I collect yarn and fiber, which is if I see it, I buy it, it's pretty. In recent years, I have done more buying for projects in terms of yarn and fiber, but I still buy things because they're pretty and because I want to play with them. So for fabric, I have really tried to not buy anything unless I have a project in mind. And so I completed my first quilt several weeks ago. I brought squares to show that, and that is still out at the quilter. I haven't heard yet. My guess is it's not on the frame yet. I get some special pricing because I am an employee of Missouri Star, but that also means that if I want to purchase their quilting services, I get put in between wherever it's convenient, and so I may wait a little bit longer to receive my quilt back, which is totally fine. So a couple weeks ago, I decided that I wanted to make myself something practical, and I wanted to select kind of a small project that would let me do a lot of different things. And so I decided that I wanted to make a reversible bucket hat. And again, this is just a simple hat pattern, fabric on both sides, optional, you can add batting in between those. And it is a free pattern from Art Gallery Fabrics, and there is a great video tutorial. And so I downloaded the free pattern, which comes with a template. You just cut it out and tape the pieces together and cut out for your hat. And I got some fabric, and the fabric that I chose to get was some Missouri Star fabric that they designed. This year is Missouri Star Quilt Company's 15th anniversary, and so they had some fabrics, a whole line of fabric designed in Missouri Star Quilt Company colors and patterns. And so basically what I did is the first part of this hat that I put together is the brim, and I am actually really pleased about this. So this is what I have so far, and what I was going to show you is that this is the Missouri Star Quilt Company fabric, and it is in the colors which are kind of this teal and then kind of a lighter green and an orange and a little bit of yellow, and I really like this flowery fabric. It's, even though it does have the Missouri Star logo in there, it's pretty subtle, and so I thought it would make a nice hat. And then on the reverse side, I am using Chuck the Duck fabric. Chuck the Duck is the mascot for Missouri Star Quilting Co. And I actually have a Chuck the Duck you can see right here over my shoulder. That's a flat Chuck, and he's taped to my bin. You get one of those with every order, so you can take pictures of flat Chuck as you're quilting. So this was kind of fun for me because this is, first of all, I executed this well. This was at the beginning of when I sat down to sew. So I have a really cute brim, and I'll just put it on so you can kind of see. It's still a little bit big because it needs to be joined to the top, but this is kind of the brim of the hat and the way it will wear. And what I was looking for was a hat that I could wear that would keep the sun off my nose and just keep me a little cool, and also with some great fabrics. So what I like about this project is that it allowed me to do a few things. So first I basted the fabric to the batting, and then I went ahead and added the lining fabric, and then what I went ahead and did is quilted it. It said that quilting was optional on the brim, but I have never quilted before, and so I have some thin batting in here. You can see kind of it's basted to the back of the top fabric, and then I have the other fabric here. And so what I did is I just ran some concentric circles around the edge of the hat. So the first one is about 1/2 inch, and then the second one's about 1/2 inch, and then I kind of took the equidistant point between these two. This one will actually, another 1/4 inch will get swallowed up by the other seam. And so I just ran a circle all the way around. And it was really exciting because I wasn't sure how well I could quilt on my current machine. And so it was kind of nice. It's a little bit puckery, and my lines are not super straight. If you actually look at them all over the entire thing, you can see where they come a little closer together and a little further apart. And so they're not perfect, but it was really a nice way for me to freehand and just get to play with things. So that is the brim of my hat. And then I moved on to the top piece. And the top piece, remember, this is going to be fully reversible, so the top piece also has the Chuck the Duck fabric on the other side. And so I struggled a little bit with some parts on this one, and so I ended up taking a break, and I haven't gotten back to it. Basically, what's left to do is for me to join the lining to the top, and basically what I need to do is I need to top stitch kind of around this edge. I'm assuming that I'm just going to stitch in the ditch here, which means just stitching in this seam line here. And I'm going to attach the lining to the outer fabric and batting at the top of the hat. And also there's a brief spot where I missed attaching, you can see, I'll just show you my mistakes because why not. There's a brief point here where I missed catching the fabric in my seam, so I'm going to have to pull that apart and just tuck that in there and re-sew that, which is not a huge deal, but that was just one of the things that I needed to fix and was like, okay, I'm getting frustrated, I'm done. So then when I then, like I said, I will attach the lining, which is, it's currently a separate piece. I just have it tucked in here. I'll attach the lining to the top of the hat, and then I will attach the top of the hat to the brim. And then once I attach the top of the hat to the brim, because this is reversible, that will leave a visible seam. And so then I will attach a binding edge over that to kind of enclose the seam. So what I like about this project is, like I said, I have lots of little bits of quilting in here that I've never done before. I've never quilted with a layer of batting in between. I've never done a binding strip, and so this is just giving me some extra practice at playing with fabric and sewing seams, and in the end I'll have something that's useful and fun. So that is kind of that project, and I hope to finish that this weekend, and I have some ideas on what I want my next sewing project to be, but I haven't decided yet, and I haven't bought any fabric yet, but I once I decide what projects I want to do, then I will buy the fabric and the supplies and work on that one next. So it's kind of fun. You know, I haven't felt like a beginner with a brand new skill for a while, and much as, you know, we have to rip things out of our knitting, I sadly had to spend a little bit of time with the seam ripper the other night, which I know is not really a problem, but a little frustrating. And so, like I said, I sat down for a couple hours and I got through several. I got through cutting out the pattern and cutting out the fabric and the brim, and then, like I said, I started to work on the top of the hat, and I thought maybe I would even finish the project in one day, but then I started making mistakes and was like, okay, let's just walk away from it, let's wait, we'll start fresh next weekend. So my hope is I'll have this finished this coming weekend, and then I can show you the last little bits of it. So quick sip of tea, and then we'll talk about spinning, and then we'll be done. So spinning didn't move along quite as quickly as I wanted it to. Last week I had one finished bobbin, now I have two. I had hoped maybe I would have a chance to ply this before I talk to you again, but I didn't. So that is first up on the docket this week, going ahead and plying this together. And then once I do that, I'll be able to move on to a new spin. As a reminder, this is called Godspeed. It's on Rambouillet, and it was from Classy Squid Fiber Company, who sadly just went out of business to pursue other things. And so I will be plying this one up, and then I will end up putting it in my shop. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. Last time we talked, I said I wasn't sure how I was going to spin it. I went ahead and spun this one. I think did I tear this in half? Yeah, I tore this one in half in strips too. So the whole thing is strips, and I will just go ahead and apply these two together, and that should create a nice barber poled yarn. So this week I decided to pull something out of stash and to spin, and I was looking for something. I don't know, a little bit more in my color field. Red and brown and yellow is not generally like something that I'm super into. I thought it was kind of a cool looking braid, but it's not really my colors. And so more in my color wheelhouse is this braid of gorgeousness from Hello Yarn. So this is called, I think it's called Little Garden, and it was the June 2023 Fiber Club, so hopefully I'm not spoiling anyone since we're already in August, and it is on 70s merino, and I do not know exactly what 70s merino is because it's not the staple, because the staple length would be much shorter than that, because merino is much shorter than that, so I don't know precisely what 70s merino is, but it is a soft fluffy merino. It is not superwash, but as you can see, the braid took colors brilliantly. It's got pinks and purples and peaches and a little bit of orange, and then this bright yellow and a little bit of swampy green in there, kind of the interaction between the colors, and I'm really excited to get to this one. This one will be, it will go in the shop, so there's lots of, I just love that yellow there, and it looks so nice with all these other colors. Anyway, so this is the braid that I will be spinning this week, and this one will go up in the shop when I am done with it, but it probably won't be up for another week and a half or so, given that I still need to ply first. So I think that's what I have going on here. I feel like things... I am still a little bit on the school year calendar, even though I'm not in school. I feel like everything is set to start again in September. We have a bunch of runs, we have a bunch of activities, I have some stuff coming up for work, and so I feel like September is just going to fly by, and of course everyone's back to school now, so traffic is back to its regular levels, and you know, everything's just kind of in motion, and I feel like it's going to be, the end of the year is going to be here before we know it, and this year has totally flown by. Anyway, I hope that you are happy and healthy and well. I hope you are staying cool. I hope you are not in a hurricane zone or an earthquake zone or in a heat index zone. And I hope that you are feeling a little bit of crafty mojo and enjoying some things that you're doing. So I will say, as I always do, until I see you next week, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.